Hi, my name is Patrick Jackson, and this is my Module 1 presentation for communicating who you are. About myself, I live in Wichita, Kansas. I've been here pretty much my entire life. I went to Wichita Southeast High School and continued on to graduate from Wichita State University. I've been teaching physical education for 9 years. This year, I'm switching into a support role in the office and out of PE. I have a 1-year-old Weimaraner who's actually sitting next to me right now. And my hobbies include anything outdoors or sports. I ran track while I was at Wichita State, and I am currently the head track coach at Wichita Southeast High School. I've been coaching track at Southeast for 10 years. I'm also the boys basketball coach at my school, Gordon Parks Academy, and also highly involved at my school by facilitating the Base Club and Middle School Challenge. Base is a club for boys of color to try to emphasize getting good grades and maintaining the idea that being smart is cool. To try to keep them on the right track going into high school. Middle School Challenge is the way that we tie in with our Little League football to make sure that boys keep their grades up during football season because it's not affiliated with the school district. I'm also the 2018 Wichita Public Schools Middle School Distinguished Classroom Teacher of the Year Award winner. My school, Gordon Parks Academy, STEM Leaders in Applied and Media Arts. It's located in Wichita, Kansas, USD 259. It is a public K-8 magnet. We facilitate kindergarten through 5th grade as a neighborhood magnet, and so those students that live in the neighborhood can opt to come to us if they choose. And then our middle school is a traditional magnet where students need to apply to get in. We have about 400 to 450 students every year, fluctuates depending on the neighborhood movement. We are continually growing in our diversity. When I first began at Gordon Parks, we were 95% African American and 96% free and reduced lunch qualifiers. And because of our magnet theme, which we adopted 5 years ago, our diversity is growing and increasing, as well as the percentage of students receiving free and reduced services is going down as well. 10 things I gleaned from the resources that we looked at for this assignment. Number one, the statement, maybe the principal does know what is best or needed most in their school in regards to site-based management. Our district is site-based management district, and so that's all I've ever seen or known. And as I reviewed the materials, a lot of the things stuck out to me because they were things I was unfamiliar with or unaware of, and a little bit naive as far as some of the repercussions that can occur if finances aren't managed well from an administrative side. So a few of the other things that caught my attention was that studies showed a number of principals and administrators lacking financial backgrounds and the understandings that they need to have for bookkeeping and managing their finances. Some of the consequences that go along with that, such as closure of schools, if budgets are not facilitated in a way that follows state guidelines and legislature. The districts that are reverting to site-based management, such as the ones that are closing their categorical grants and moving those funds into one funding stream to help give school district a little bit more control over what their money is doing for them, as well as some of the major districts that are also adopting weighted student funding systems to help support the needs that they have for their student bases. Continuing with my 10 things I gleaned, some of the decisions that are often made by legislation and district level bureaucrats tend to lead to financing that is far separated or removed from the school itself and taking that power away from the people who work closely with students and families and know how to better spend that money. Some of the other things I pulled from the materials we were given for this assignment continue to reinforce the idea that it's important that administrators utilize their funds correctly, not only to facilitate and support their student needs, but also to make sure that their utilization of those resources in line with their curriculum and programs themselves. It's also important to really look at the idea that principals have taken on a much larger managerial role. When you look at the history of education and how it's developed, principals take on a whole lot more than just managing their building now, where they're evaluating instruction and choosing curriculum, but now they're also managing the budget. In many cases, like our district, figuring out how to best piece together their budget by looking at their different budget strands to figure out what is best going to suit the needs for their individual school. So in reflecting on my principal, I'm going to refer to the principals I've had. I've had 3 principals since I've been at Gordon Parks Academy, but one thing I've noticed that they do, or that I'm aware they do, is they shift funds in different funding strings to meet the needs of our individual building, and they're making sure that those fall under the guidelines of Kansas State Department of Education. For example, taking the FTE of a classroom teacher when our numbers have been a little lower in a grade level, and utilizing that to hire a reading interventionist or an intervention specialist or a behavior specialist, rather than having that extra classroom teacher, just sliding funds around to make things work like that end up having a large impact on how our school runs. Another thing is reviewing budget weekly is something I'm aware of. I've actually accidentally walked into those meetings and disrupted, but they're typically reviewing the consumable funds that have been utilized within those weekly spans, as well as approving hours for hourly staff such as paras, to make sure that they're meeting their guidelines for their hourly pay and not going over. Centralized fundraising is something that we started doing. I've seen it done in athletic departments. I don't know that schools do that regularly, but we've started centralizing our fundraising, and a lot of that has to do with our small population, where facilitating kindergarten through 8th grade teachers, sports, other clubs and programs that go along with our magnet theme. It ends up spreading those resources as far as fundraising pretty small, and so we try to pool all of it together so that we're not competing with each other during the same season. That's something that the administrators have facilitated, and then the FTE requests at the end of each year to get ready for the next school year, where they're looking to get support from district leadership as far as allowing them to keep certain positions if the population is dropped, or requesting new positions if there's need in other areas. Concerns that I have when I review these materials, software understanding and capabilities. That was a big one that we saw in one of our resources in particular. Knowing how to utilize those to the best of your benefit, and probably having to learn how to utilize the one that your district hands to you, to make sure that you're not falling out of guidelines that are set by the State Department. The KSDE guidelines, that kind of lends itself to that one. Gaining more knowledge for me, that's not something that I completely understand. I always thought when money was made during athletics, that went to the athletic department and athletics got to spend it, but it's not quite that simple, I've come to find out. So other concerns I have is what responsibilities fall on me as a principal in my district, and I'm looking forward to gaining that knowledge during this course, as well as financial, budgetary training for staff, finding out the best ways to implement that to make sure that staff members are being responsible, because ultimately the responsibility falls back on the building leader as far as if there are slip-ups with finances. Here's my reference page, and thank you for watching my presentation. Hopefully I get to review yours and see more of your guys' work as well. Thanks.